Did the journalists who advocated for violence against Elvis fans feel any regret or remorse for their dangerous suggestions? How did the cultural and societal norms of the 1950s contribute to the harmful attitudes expressed by these journalists? Can we learn from the harmful attitudes of the past to ensure a more accepting and understanding society for future generations? One journalist, Herb Rao, went as far as to suggest physical violence as a way to deal with Elvis's fans in his column for the Miami Daily News in 1956. Rao, who appeared to be in his 50s, ranted about Elvis's lack of talent, claiming he couldn't sing, play the guitar, or dance, and insulted the fans who adored him. It's incredible to think that such harsh criticism was directed at the legendary Elvis, considering the incredible career he went on to build. These aging journalists were clearly out of touch with the changing musical landscape and the impact Elvis would have on it. Despite the criticism, Elvis's fans continued to worship him, showing the generation gap that existed in the 1950s. It's fascinating to see how attitudes towards Elvis have shifted over the years, cementing his place as a cultural icon. Looking back, it's almost comical to read the scathing comments made by critics who failed to recognize Elvis's raw talent and charisma. The fact that journalists openly endorsed violence as a response to teenage fandom is shocking and concerning, reflecting society's attitudes at the time. Thankfully, Elvis's talent and fans prevailed, and he went on to become one of the most influential and beloved artists in music history. In the 1950s, it was common for parents and journalists to advocate for slapping teenage girls who were fans of Elvis Presley. Can you believe that a Houston mother actually wrote a letter to the editor of the Houston Chronicle suggesting she would take her Elvis-raving daughter to the woodshed? It's astonishing to think about the mindset of the 1950s, where physical punishment for trivial matters like music preferences was considered acceptable. Rao wasn't the only one promoting this kind of adult overreaction to Elvis. There were other journalists and parents who shared similar sentiments. The fact that these attitudes toward discipline and punishment were so prevalent in the 1950s is a stark reminder of how much society has evolved. It's hard to imagine living in a time when such responses to teenage behavior were not only accepted but also encouraged by some. The 1950s may have been a different era, but it's important to recognize how much progress we have made in our understanding of parenting and discipline since then. In a shocking display of parental outrage, a Vancouver writer threatened to physically harm his daughter for wanting to see Elvis. The article, published in the Vancouver Sun, advocated for kicking girls in the teeth if they expressed a desire to attend an Elvis concert. The writer's extreme reaction reflected the deep fear and concern that adults had about Elvis's influence on teenagers. The article emphasized the urgent need for parents to enforce strict, conservative values and prevent their children from being swayed by Elvis's rebellious image. This drastic call for violence against daughters who idolized Elvis sent shockwaves through the community and sparked heated debates about the singer's impact on youths. The Vancouver writer's words sparked outrage and disbelief, with many condemning his violent suggestion and defending the rights of young fans to express their admiration for Elvis. The heated controversy surrounding the article shed light on the intense resistance and fear that adults felt towards the changing cultural landscape brought about by Elvis's popularity. As parents grappled with the growing influence of rock and roll and the emergence of a new generation of rebellious youth, tensions ran high and extreme reactions, such as the Vancouver writer's threat surfaced. The alarming call to violence served as a stark reminder of the deep divide between conservative adults and their Elvis-loving children, highlighting the generational clash that defined the era. Ultimately, the article's shocking message sparked important conversations about the need for understanding and acceptance in the face of societal changes, paving the way for a more open and inclusive dialogue around music, culture, and intergenerational relationships. Reynolds' scathing commentary on young girls debasing themselves at an Elvis Presley concert in Spokane revealed his disdain for the singer's influence on the youth. He went as far as to suggest violent retribution for any daughter of his who broke out to see the king of rock and roll perform. Despite his warning to Vancouver parents, a massive crowd of 16,500 showed up at Empire Stadium to witness Elvis's performance, making it the second largest crowd to see him in the 1950s. In Los Angeles, another writer, Paul Coates, expressed his disdain for Elvis in a column for the Los Angeles Mirror News, claiming the singer committed lewd acts on stage with a statue of Nipper, the RCA dog, at the Pan Pacific Auditorium. Despite not actually seeing Elvis's show that night, Coates still felt the need to share his harsh opinions on the matter. The column revealed the widespread criticism and contempt that Elvis faced from the media during his early career. Both Reynolds and Coates' writings exemplify the hostile and disdainful attitudes held by some towards Elvis in the late 1950s. Their words reflect the moral panic and outrage that surrounded Elvis's performances and his impact on young audiences. Despite the criticism, Elvis continued to draw massive crowds and achieve unparalleled success in the music industry. His ability to captivate audiences and defy his detractors only further solidified his status as a cultural icon. Despite his controversial image, Elvis Presley was a loving father to his daughter Lisa Marie, and one can only wonder what kind of father he would have been to her during her teenage years. In the midst of media scrutiny and judgment, it's difficult to imagine the kind of support and understanding Elvis could have offered his daughter as she navigated the complexities of adolescence. While journalists criticized Elvis for his rebellious nature, it's clear that his love for Lisa Marie could have been a source of strength and guidance during her troubled teenage years. The idea of Elvis being a father to a teenage daughter is a compelling and intriguing concept, one that is filled with both potential challenges and heartwarming moments. As Lisa Marie faced her own rebellious phase, it's easy to imagine Elvis offering her the unwavering support and love that only a devoted father could provide. Despite the assumptions made by journalists, it's unlikely that Elvis would have resorted to violence or harsh discipline towards his daughter as they suggested. The relationship between Elvis and his daughter is a topic that ignites curiosity and speculation, sparking discussions about the kind of father he might have been in her teenage years. It's a poignant thought to consider how Elvis, a man misunderstood by many, could have been a source of stability and affection for his daughter as she faced the challenges of adolescence. The unexplored potential of Elvis as a father to a teenage daughter is a captivating idea that leaves us to ponder the impact he could have had on her life. While we can only speculate on the kind of father Elvis would have been to Lisa Marie, it's a fascinating concept that highlights the enduring legacy and complexities of their relationship. What kind of columnist was Paul Coates, who expressed dislike for Elvis Presley in his column? Drama critic. What did Paul Coates suggest he would do to Elvis Presley if he was his child? All of the above. In 1957, what did Vancouver Sun columnist Mac Reynolds suggest parents do to their daughters who wanted to see Elvis Presley? Kick in the teeth. How did Mac Reynolds describe the behavior of young girls at Elvis Presley's show in Spokane? Screamed and quivered. What kind of father is the author of the text imagining Elvis Presley would have been to his daughter? Loving and supportive. In 1956, what did journalist Herb Rouse suggest parents should do to their daughters who liked Elvis Presley? Slap across the face. In which city did Elvis Presley perform at the Olympia Theater in 1956, where journalist Herb Rouse attended his show? Miami. What was the estimated crowd size at the Elvis Presley show in Dallas in October 1956? 18,000. What kind of journalist was Dick Williams, who accused Elvis Presley of lewd acts on stage in 1957? Drama critic. What was the name of the Vancouver Sun reporter sent to view Elvis Presley's show in Spokane? Mac Reynolds.